Hello and welcome to this masterclass with me, Mark Terrell from the Motivated Business Club. You're welcome along to this hour-long webinar where I'm going to show you how to boost productivity, reduce staff turnover by unlocking motivation in your team. Would be great if you are watching to let us know that you are there. So please feel free to make a comment. And if you're watching this on the replay, then again, make some comments as you as you wish. Any questions you have, and also get in touch if there's anything that I can help you with. I've got quite a lot to get through, so I won't hang around too much. I'll get cracking in a second. As this is on YouTube, then there is comments at the comment box where you can ask questions there, make any comments, and if I don't reply or while I'm presenting live, then I will check back after I finish and do my best to answer your questions. Right, let's crack on. Let's get on with the content. There's quite a lot to get through in the next hour. So we are here today then to talk about how to boost productivity and reduce staff turnover by unlocking motivation in your team. So before we get stuck into the content, just a little bit of background, well, a bit about what we're actually going to do today. So firstly, we're going to show you how you can unlock motivation in your team. I'm going to show you at the end how you can work with me if you're interested in that. No hard sell, just some options that might be interested for, and then obviously some question and answers at the end. Hi Matt, nice to see you here. Feel free to comment as I go along. So that's my aims today, those three things, and we'll crack on with the content as soon as we can. What you'll need, maybe you'll need something to write some notes in, but please, hi Mel, welcome along. Maybe some notes, but be rest assured that you will get a recording of this. So if you are the type that actually learns better by just watching rather than writing, then feel free, because you will be able to watch back again at a later date, so that you can make some notes then, whichever works for you. So 3 things we're going to go through today: why motivation is important and why we don't pay enough attention to it, why you should ditch the appraisal process and introduce a process based on motivation, and thirdly, how you can identify, describe, measure and maximize motivation for everyone in your team, including, and most importantly, you. And I'm assuming you are a business owner if you're watching this, but also if you're working as a team leader, again, just as relevant. Just a little bit about me. I was, that's me on the left-hand side with my dad in the middle and my elder brother Richard on the right, I should say. 30 years in a retail business. Some photos just to prove that I was there. Some drinks and some bread. 30 years in retail, and that's my 2 daughters. Very proud of them. They are doing very well in their careers. That's me and my partner, Maria. I think I'm in Venice. Not so long ago. Recently, I did a bit of a challenge. Decided to do 2,000 burpees in July. That was 2022. Managed to get that done. Don't think I'll ever do that again. I'm the founder and creator of the Reluctant Leader Academy and also the Motivated Business Club. And the Motivated Business Club came out of writing this book, which is motivated by me, the Reluctant Leader's Guide to Building a Business that Sets You Free. And sets you free is a key, is important to me, because I made some errors in my 30 years of running that retail business that I don't want you to make the same mistakes as I made. If we're not already connected, then feel free to scan that QR code, and you will then go to my LinkedIn, and you can then, yes, I know Mel, you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like to. That's there. And just quickly, why do I do what I do? Well, I mentioned the Reluctant Leader Academy. That was me in the middle there, stuck in the middle, being the biggest cog in the machine. And feeling like when I stopped, everything else around me stopped too. So that's what I don't want to happen to you. What we want to do is we want to make you all motivated leaders by being on the right-hand side there, being the oil that keeps the machine working and not the biggest cog. In the book Motivated, I share a 7-step process which is based very much on motivation on each of the 7 steps. And the first step is mirror, where you really should understand what motivates you and also understand your behavioural styles. That's a key step at the beginning, which a lot of business owners miss and don't really understand why they do the things they do, and also how they do them as well. And by understanding those things, you can make sure that you don't have misunderstandings in your team, and also you can get people that complement you as opposed to just duplicates of you in your business. So that's all explained in the book. And who I work with, I mainly work with business owners and directors of organisations. I work with team leaders and managers with regards to teaching them about motivation and also key leadership skills. And I also work with coaches, recruiters with regards to teaching them how to use motivation in their business. And I'll show you the tool that I use later on. So that is a quick run through about me and what I do and why I do what I do. So just while I just change the slides here, hopefully the tech is going to work for me. That's the next one. So the first thing I think that we should do is understand exactly what motivation is. And because motivation is what we're talking about here, and if we can understand it, then we can obviously have a better understanding. Obviously, leads to be able to use the information that we are using with regards to what motivation is. So, what is motivation? Well, essentially, what motivation is, the motivation is 2 words joined together. Those 2 words are motive and action. Your motive is your reason, and the action is you do something. So your reason to do something. So essentially motivation is your reason to do something. So you and pretty much everybody in your team probably will have slightly different reasons to come to work. And that's key, understanding that you are different from your team. And that's a good thing. Understanding the differences, you will be motivated to certain things and other members of your team will be motivated in different ways. So one of the things I talk about in the book is really understanding and embracing the differences in your team. And one thing we can do is embrace the differences we have in motivations. So one of the things I say, especially to my clients, is everyone needs to take responsibility for their motivation. It's the same as our fitness. If we don't pay attention to it and keep fit, do activities, then we are not going to stay fit. It's a bit like saying that we run a marathon once and then we're fit. That it doesn't work like that. We've got to make sure that we are continually looking after ourselves and making sure that we're taking steps to be active, to make sure we look after our fitness. And in the same way, motivation is something you need to take care of. Understand that we need to do things proactively to look after it and maintain it and maximize it, and realizing also that it's changeable. Our motivations change over time, so it's something that we need to check in with quite regularly. So what we're talking about here, I talked about boosting performance, and one of the things we need to think about, where does motivation fit? Well, there is 3 elements that are key or crucial to our performance at work. Firstly, we need to have a direction. Secondly, we need the skills, knowledge, know-how to deliver what it is we need to be delivering within our role. And thirdly, not surprisingly, is motivation. We need the motivation to back up the skills and knowledge that we have with the direction that we're heading. So all these 3 elements, they work together. They don't work independently, they work together. So we need to make sure that we're paying enough attention to all 3 elements to make sure that we're heading them in the right direction. we've got the skills and know-how to deliver what we should be delivering, and also realizing that motivation is the key. It's the fuel that keeps us going, and if we don't have the fuel, ultimately we will run out of energy. And motivation is very, very important. It's very much linked to energy. So in other words, what we're talking about here, we're talking about three things: are the what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Some of you might be familiar with Simon Sinek's work, where he says start with why. I'm very big fan of his work. Understanding why you come to work is a key element here, and understanding why other people come to work, and realizing that those reasons are different. One of the things that I've learned since that finishing that or selling that retail business is that my brother and I, who we've worked together for many years, I now understand what really drives him, because he's well, I've done the motivational quiz that I use with him, so I understand what motivates him. He understands what motivates me, and what happens by knowing that is that you communicate better, and you understand each other better, and you will avoid conflict. So it's very easy to lose motivation, and I don't, and especially if you don't know what's important to us. So we need to be able to identify it. It's quite difficult, isn't it, if you think about it? When someone says what motivates you, you might think about the holidays you have every year. It might be that you've got a goal to pay off your mortgage or something like that. But what we want to do is get really down to the level where what really gets us out of bed. That's the important point here. So I don't want you just sitting there doing nothing. I'm doing all the work here so far. So just a quick thing to think about, which is a real useful exercise. What I want you to do is think about how good are you at what you do, and score yourself out of 10. No need to share, but you're quite welcome to if you want to. Give yourself a score out of 10 about how good you are about how you do what you do. So this is what we're talking about here is skills. Score out of 10 for that. And then, not surprisingly, give yourself a score out of 10 for how motivated you are. How easy is it to get out of bed in the morning? And once you've got those two numbers, you can use them and multiply them together to give yourself a performance indicator. So the performance indicator calculates, you can use your calculator. So the elements we've just talked about are skills times by motivation equals P for performance. So let's just give you an example of someone that, in this instance, someone who's highly skilled, so has all the skills and knowledge to do what they do, but their motivational score, or their score out of 10 for motivation is only 6 out of 10. So someone that's only 6 out of 10 motivated, their performance score is only likely to be about 54%, and it's only just over half. So that's not great, is it? So what we want to be doing is thinking about how we can maximize both elements. So it's not just about motivation, it's about understanding you need the skills, but you also need the motivation. So just by increasing that motivation to 9, that makes a big difference to the overall score. And we want to get people into that over 80 score, which is when most people are operating at their best. They are highly skilled and highly motivated. What I talk about with these two elements, with skills and motivation, is the skills are the skills, and the motivation is the will. So you need the skills and the will to perform at your best. So the question I want you to answer, if in your head, or you can put it in the comments, entirely up to you, is what did you score highest? Skills or motivation, what was the highest? Matt, that's good, 82, that's great. So which of the scores was the highest? And which one was the lowest? And also, so which one do you think that you need to pay most attention to? Is it motivation, or is it something around skills and knowledge in what you do? Just a bit of a thought starter. So there we are. That's an introduction to motivation, understanding motivation. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an insight into how we should be starting to think about motivation. So what we're going to do now then is think about, if I can find the next group of slides, get that fired up. I'm introduced at the beginning about a ditching the appraisal process, or maybe we should actually be doing something different. Motivation was higher or lower, Matt? Definitely skills. Okay, whichever one is the highest. So the skills are highest, Mel, and I'm guessing your motivation is higher, Matt. That's brilliant, excellent. So think about how you might want to take that little exercise forward. So let's now think about a process where that's crucial with every business. Whether you do it or whether you don't, is one thing we need to do is have something in the business where we monitor performance. And traditionally, this is called an appraisal process. Now, I don't know about you, I've never heard anybody actually talk about the appraisal process being something that they look forward to. That's very unusual. So we need to do something about that because it should be an enjoyable thing. It should be something you get value from. So why is that? So we need to be able to do something about that. And here I'm going to give you an example of how we can use motivation instead of doing an appraisal. So just a quick run through of why appraisals don't work. There tends to be a lack of will to make them successful. There's a lack of flexibility and personalization. So there's no way of actually make them specific to the individual appraisee. There's lack of skills by the appraiser. Most people do it because it's part of their job and not their main job. And it's not something they look forward to, so they don't tend to want to do it. And we're talking about motivation here. When someone isn't really motivated to do something and their skills aren't very high, then ultimately the performance isn't going to be very good. And there's lack of focus on what the appraisee really wants, because we've got to remember there's two parties here. There's the appraiser and the appraisee, and we want both those parties to get the maximum return on their time and make it worthwhile and something that they actually look forward to. So what can we do about it? Well, for me, I think it's time to say that the appraisals are dead and long live the motivational action plan. So this is a process that I use with my clients. When we understand what motivation is, we can focus on what the individual wants. So making motivation the focus. Why should we do that? Well, performances depend on it, as I've already shared. It's a great starting point because it's not about things that have happened. We all know the stories of people in appraisals have been told about things that have happened in the period since their last appraisal, which are unhelpful and don't start things off on a positive note. By starting with motivation, you're starting on a positive note with regards to what the appraisee wants. It's focused on the future, so we are making steps to do something that is going to make things better in the future. And we're also focusing on what the employee needs to be motivated. And we can do that. By doing that, we can make sure also to make sure that those things are part of the plan for the business as well. So this is our motivational action plan. Very, very straightforward. You'll see first of all, we set some goals. And most of my sessions that I run for my clients are very much based on the goal being maintaining and maximizing motivation. And you'll see there's three things we should do. What will we do? How will we do it? And when will we do it? Three elements there. So this is a goal setting exercise, but very specific with regards to motivation and understanding what the appraisee or the person that's is having the motivational action plan is all around what they want, but also making sure that those things are connected to what the remit for the business is or the remit for the team. Right. So what needs to be included? So yes, as I've sort of mentioned, we need to match the motivators to the role and make sure that motivation is taken into account. We need to link motivators to business objectives, so that there are two things we're looking at: what the individual wants and what the business is looking for. And we need to identify the motivational opportunities. So when I say that, when you find someone that is motivated in a particular way, they might be ideal for a role that maybe has not been particularly well served in your business. So I've had that happen a few times in my time. So essentially, we need a way to identify motivation. We need a language to describe motivation, and we need a way to measure the strength of motivators. Once we do that, we then have the ability to use every one of those motivational scores with regards to the individual and what they want. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Yeah, absolutely. I'll reply with a bit more detail with that. Absolutely. Management, yes, you need to give plenty of feedback. And one of the motivators, which is very prevalent, is key, is to give plenty of motivation. Give plenty of feedback with regards to actually fulfilling the key motivator. So there we are. With regards to how we can use motivation in a practical way in the business, as opposed to just doing an exercise, having some scores, and then thinking, well, what are we going to do with it? Well, I think the most effective way is to put it into a one-to-one situation, which replaces the appraisal process. I hope that all makes sense. So, one more segment of learning where I'm going to go through with you how we now can measure and describe motivation. That's the key. So let's just fire the rest of these up. So we're ready to go. So let's think about how the importance of how we can identify, describe, measure, and maximize motivation for everyone in your team, and most importantly, you. The tool I use is motivational maps. The reason I use them is because it identifies motivation. It's a 10-minute. It takes about 10 minutes. It's an online questionnaire. It describes using 9 motivations, which I'm going to go through with you now. Firstly, what it does is it gives us. You'll see there's 3 groupings. There's 3 relationship motivators. There's 3 achievement motivators, and there's 3 growth motivators. So we are all a combination of all these 9. But what we've got to do is find the right order for us, which one's most important down to the one that's least important. So there's 3 groups of 3, and what we've also got to think about is what does each one mean. So I'm going to go through each one of them to give you a quick overview. So top left is the defender. The defender is the motivation for security, predictability, and stability. The friend is the motivation for belonging, friendship, and fulfilling relationships. And the star is the motivation for seeking recognition, respect, and social esteem. And the reason why these are relationship motivators is that they are dependent on other people giving them to you, giving things to you. Then on to the achievement motivators. The director is the drive for seeking power, influence, and control over others and resources, over people and resources, I should say. The builder is the drive that seeks material satisfaction and above average living standards and seeks money. And finally, the final achievement motivator is the expert, and the expert is about the knowledge, drive, and specialism, and seeks knowledge. And then we have the 3 growth motivators. We have the creator, which is the drive for innovation. The spirit, which is the drive for freedom, autonomy, and making a different. Making their own decisions. Got ahead of myself there. And then the searcher is the drive for making a difference. And I mentioned about feedback, Matt. Thank you for the sort of mention about feedback. And I mean, a lot of the defender very much likes feedback. They want to be kept in the loop and and they need information to make sure that they're feeling secure. But searchers really like feedback because they want to know they're making a difference. And really, the only way you can feel that you're making a difference is by someone giving you feedback. And that can be your line manager, it could be a customer, it could be a team member, anyone like that. So feedback, as you mentioned, Matt, is really important. So we have the 9 motivators. So the next thing we need to do is measure. So motivational maps gives us a metric to measure a motivation. So you'll see this as an example of someone who has completed the 10 minutes diagnostic, and you'll see on the left-hand side the most important motivator, in this case searcher, down to the least important on the right, the star. So you'll notice there's a score given for each of the 9 motivator. Just to quickly answer your Belbin is about the things that we are good at. As far as I understand it, it's very similar to motivation maps in it's a self perception inventory, but motivation is slightly different. It's the things about what we want to do as opposed to what we're good at. So there's a subtle difference there. Sometimes you find that people, even though they're good at something, aren't really motivated by it. So that's a quick summary around the difference between motivational maps and Belbin, but there is a similarity in the things that they talk about. So that's what we do then. So as I mentioned, each of the motivators gets a score from the highest score down to the lowest score, so we can put them in order from the most important to the least important, and then obviously from top to bottom, the most important ones are the things that we focus on, and also something that is quite useful in many cases is the lowest motivator. Is quite revealing in many ways because it's the motivator that we spend least amount of time considering or focusing on. And in a business context, if you're a business owner, so in this instance, the star motivators being the lowest. So that's about recognition and social esteem. And this is the motivator that I link mostly towards the motivation to market ourselves and get noticed. So in this case, this business owner may well be not paying any attention to the amount of time they market themselves and put themselves in front of their potential clients. And the way they go about that might be a bit sporadic. So that might be an Achilles heel in their business and needs to be addressed. So there we are. What I think that what I know is that businesses need data. So by using motivational maps, we are getting something measured, and when we can measure something, we can improve it. We measure finance, and we obviously take steps to improve our finances because we can measure them, and we measure sales and marketing, and we measure those operational efficiencies. So once we can measure something, we can actually improve it. So with regards to a motivational map, this is what we call the background information. With regards to what we get, the information over and above the motivational map, which is pretty much what the individual gets to use. So this is what we call our 22 numbers. So I've already mentioned the scores, so that's how they appear. That's 9 of the numbers. There's also what we call a cluster analysis, which gives us an idea of where people are heading towards. And we talk about relationships, achievement, and growth clusters. And whichever one is the strongest gives an indication of where they're sort of heading. Then we have the 9, what we call PMA scores. So these are 9 scores of out of 10, similar to the exercise we did earlier, where we can say how fulfilled each of the 9 motivators are for this individual. So you'll see there's some scores there from 10 out of 10 for the spirit, down to the lowest score being 6 out of 10 for defender, and the top motivator is only 7 out of 10. So when we know this information, we then we can also get an overall score there of the overall score, which is a combination of the top 3 motivators. But when we know this PMA score, it gives us some really important feedback in that it's how this person is feeling about how their top motivators are being fulfilled in their role. And also it gives us the opportunity then to be able to focus on how we can get those scores better. From the expert here from 7, what could we do to get it up to 8 or 9, and what would that give as far as motivation and the energy that comes from it, and then the performance that comes from that ultimately. If we focus on it, we're likely to get those benefits. But also with regards to what we talk about here, not only about boosting performance, but also staff retention, reducing staff turnover. So if we have a motivational map exercise and we find that the top motivators aren't being well met, you imagine if they were like 3s, 4s and 5s, then that's a clear indication that person is not feeling that their motivators are being met in their role. And that might be that they need to change role, they might need to focus on different things in their role, they just might need a bit more support, all those things. So it gives a really clear indication as to how that person is feeling about their role in the business. And obviously, if this is you as you're a business owner, this is something really crucial, because when I was running my business, you'll notice down the number 8 there says director. Director has always been my lowest motivator. I've done motivational maps a number of times, probably about 5 or 6 times over the years, and director's always been my lowest. And what happened was, in my retail business, I spent most of my time managing people and being responsible for people, and ultimately that's what drove me to feel disengaged, lost my mojo, and ultimately that business, when I came to sell it, I was glad to have sold it, because I really lost all the energy for it. So I've learnt my lesson, and that's the key here, is understanding that if we pay attention to something, when we take on that next role in our business, we make sure that those things are going to be they're going to be motivational for us. And also, when we're thinking about as a business owner, we need to make sure that those lowest motivators are the things that are associated with them, I should say, are the things that we delegate sooner rather than later, so that we don't have to do them, and so they don't sap our energy. Because the things that are lowest on our motivational focus are the things that tend to sap our energy, and the things that are in the top 2, 3 or 4 are the ones that give us energy. And if we can do more of what gives us energy, we are going to perform better, and we're going to enjoy the business that we're running and the role that we have in it. So just to give you another insight into what motivational maps can also do, I've talked about teams. So what we can do is we can put individual maps into a team map. And this, if you are a team leader or manager, is gold dust, because you then have a document which tells you how to motivate your team. And wouldn't that be fantastic? So the one thing to remember here, though, is this is not about making you responsible for motivation. Individuals are responsible for their own, making sure that they're taking steps to motivate themselves in their role. Your role, if you are leading a team, is to understand the role you play. And we've already talked about feedback. If you have a team of searchers, make sure you're giving plenty of feedback. If you've got a team of defenders, then make sure you're keeping them well involved, keep them up to date, lots of information, so that they feel that things are going in the right direction, and there's no ambiguity, being clear and explicit about things, which is key. So once you have your team map, You have, again, more data to work with regards to what are the key motivators in this team. What do I need to do to make sure that this team is motivation is maintained and maximized? So what we can do, the same as we do with the individual map, we look at the top 3 motivators for the team and make sure there's plenty of incentives around those things. Make sure that we, as the team leader manager, are doing things that press the right buttons. I suppose that's the best term to coin here. Is, when you're pressing the right buttons for your team, then they're going to perform better because they feel that they're being appreciated. Then we need to think about what this also tells us is there is potential conflicts in a team with regards to motivation. So I've explained at the beginning how I now understand my brother much better. And this is where we can open up a discussion or make things aware that there are motivations here which are different. And just by understanding it's a motivational issue, not just like a behavioural style, like somebody's doing something just to annoy us. When you know it's linked to motivation, you can think, well, actually, I understand why that person does that, and we don't make it into an issue. So we can do that. They've got an example there where the numbers that are highlighted in blue are lowest motivators, and the ones in yellow, orange, and red are the top 3. So when you get the blue and the orange, yellow, or red in the same column, that's basically highlighting a potential, as I say, potential conflict in the team. But by sharing this information, it tends to negate any potential problem that might come with regards to people having a misunderstanding with regards to motivations. And we also need to look at the lowest motivator of the team, like we do with the individual. And so in this case, there's nobody that really wants to be in charge. And what's the implication of that? So it has some great ways to use this information. And it's such a valuable way of looking at the dynamics of the team. So just finally then, to wrap up with regards to what we use the information for, reward strategies are key. So when we know what an individual wants or a team wants, then we have a better chance of success and making sure that our team are retained, they don't leave, but also that they're performing at their best. So there's an example there of motivational strategies that are in a motivational map. For the spirit here, it's review a vision for your life, conduct a stop-start review, seek to dress down. So these are the things that spirits appreciate. And so for you as a manager, if you introduce those things, then it's actually going to be well received. So another example, this is actually from a team map. This is the searcher motivator. So you'll see there's 5 strategies there you can use for you as an individual, where you can make sure that you are doing these things because you know that this is a driver. So this searcher motivator is important for the team. So you need to think about how you can create a stimulating environment, avoid meaningless routines, give positive feedback, obtain positive customer feedback, and make sure that all the equipment and materials and team use are fit for purpose. So these are some guidelines with regards to how you can maintain and improve motivation. Definitely, Mal. I've done some work with people, just 2 people that have worked together, understanding motivations. I've explained about how my relationship with my brother has improved because we understand our different motivators. So definitely, it doesn't matter how big the team is. 2, 3, 4 is typically what I do, actually, those sort of size teams. And those small groups get some great value from it because they understand then how they can progress and what they need to make sure that they avoid with regards to those conflicts, but also enhancing and making the most of everyone's motivations in the team. And when you come to expand, you think when you need somebody to expand the team, you can think about, well, do we need someone with a different motivational profile to us to complement what we do? So yeah, good question, Mel. Thank you for that. So there we are. That's a run through of the tool I use with regards to identifying motivation and how we can use it and how powerful it is with regards to individuals and with regards to teams. So we seem to be pretty much on time. So before I wrap up and leave you to the rest of your day, as I mentioned at the beginning, I thought I'd just give you some ideas with regards to how we can work together. So there's no sales pitch here. So just give you some ways that I tend to work with my clients. And if I can find it, it's there. Hopefully it's the right one. No, that's not the right one. Excuse me. That's the one. So yeah, there's various ways that you can work with me with regards to. Oh, hello, Matt. Yes, okay. Yes, that's good to know you're still there. So let me just think about just go through this. Technology, just wait for it to fire up. That's good. Right, here we go. So ways that we can work together. There's a few different ways we can work together. Firstly, there is the Motivated Business Club. So this is a monthly club where there's 3 different levels of the club. You can join in as an individual plus or a team plus member, and there's different rates for that. The individual is very much about a coaching one-to-one. Individual plus is about the coaching and the courses that I have created around leadership, motivation, and self-leadership. You get them included in the plus version. And then the team plus is all that's included in the individual plus in a team scenario up to a number of 4 people. And then there's also, if you have more than 4 people in your team, then they have the option to, we can add on. And it's all described in the on the page on my website. So it's on the home page of my website all about the Motivated Business Club. Next thing is I can join your team. So when I say join the team, if you want me to become a member of your team, so I'm supporting you, helping you with motivation, leadership, and training your team as you go along. That's something that I do and can do with regards to joining your team. And there's various options how that might work on a once a month basis or a day basis or lots of different variety of things that we can accommodate there. Next thing is how to stay energized at work course. So that's an online course which an individual can take, and there's also some team options which I've again created on my website. If you go to my website, go to the courses page, how to stay energized at work, and you'll see there's individual plus, team and team plus options there. Again, all I've created them around the typical scenarios that I work with, but they're all adaptable for bigger teams. And finally, become a licensed practitioner of motivational maps. So I train other people to use the motivational map tool. So if you feel that that would be good for you, you don't have to be a HR or a recruiter. I've got practitioners that do all sorts of things. And if you're a business owner, you can learn how to move motivational maps in your team, and you can use them as you grow your business on your own without me being involved, but obviously supporting you. So they are the 4 ways that you can work with me, and they all are on my website, all the different options. And if any of them interest you, then don't hesitate to get in touch. So we've been through all the slides, so hopefully you found that useful. I think I've answered all the questions as I've gone along, but I'll go and after I finish, and I'll give you maybe a longer version in the comments that might be more useful, and I'll put some links to the pages in my website where you can find all the details about the Motivational Business Club, becoming a practitioner, or how to get in touch with me if I can help you with regards to developing your team and keeping them motivated. So thank you for those that turned up live. As I expected, a lot of people will probably pick this up as a replay. If you are watching on a replay, please leave some comments if you've got any questions, and get in touch if there's anything that I can help you with. The things that I help with are, thank you, Mel, for coming along. I'll see you very soon. So there's other things that I help with regards, very much obviously focused on motivation, but I'm a practitioner of liberating leadership, which complements motivation and the Motivational Maps product perfectly. So if you are looking to develop your teams, and leadership is something that you know that you and your team need more guidance and support with, then I can help you with that. If you want to develop people on an individual basis, then I've created a course called How to Be a High Flyer. It talks very similar terminology to the Liberating Leadership course, but it's based on how you as an individual can become the best you can be in the work environment. And so it's all there. I love the work I do, understanding what motivates people so they get the best from their work, get the maximum from their business, stay motivated, get the energy they need to navigate those bumps in the road that are thrown at all of us in our working lives. So we are finished early, which is great. I wish you all well. Thank you again for those that turned up early. And I will see you very soon, and it would be great if you get in touch. Bye for now.